Hey guys, welcome back to the garden. I have been MIA because I was getting everything done that I could for a big trip to go for my little sister's wedding. I'm gonna flash back in time and show you everything I was doing to get my garden ready for me to be gone for a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna try and get the first step of the arches put in place, which is gonna be just the rebar on this side. So if we can get that done tonight before it's full dark, then we are going to be golden. I start by putting a string line nice and taut to line up the arches across the entire backyard. And then so much measuring. Measure everything. Measure it twice. Then drive in my rebar. Cut the conduit. Slide the conduit into place over each rebar. Wrap up the string line so I don't trip over it and I can use it again later. And then spend about 2 hours trying to drive the legs in. This part was really hard on my shoulder because it was so high to start. It's almost at my chin. So I pulled out my step bench. Having a higher vantage point made it much easier, but the last two were still really hard and stubborn and didn't want to go in. I'm calling it a night. We've worked hard. It's not perfect, but it's progress. The next morning, I'm watering everything to soften up the ground. It takes a couple of waterings before it sinks in, so I water, wait a little bit, and water again. Then it's back to driving the legs in the ground. A lot of time spent driving the legs in the ground. Checking everything for level to see how close we are. And you guessed it. Spend more time driving legs in the ground. My arms were pretty dead, so I decided to try this post driver. Now I had thought of it the night before, but I knew it would muck up the top, so I didn't do it, but I decided that it was worth whatever time I'd spend filing to just use the post driver. Needed to clean the path out so I could see the other side to get the other row of the posts in. I weeded in the areas that I knew I was going to be putting those posts in the ground. Watered again to hopefully soften up the soil. It helped, but it was still really hard. Wow, that's hard. I'm using the arches to measure the width because they're not perfect. I made these myself, so using them to measure the width makes it much easier. Okay, so this is something I always do. Oops. I come to the very end and I try to see if it's lined up, and it isn't. So if I come over here, these 3 arches are good, but I can see the second from the end is out. See how it tips out? This one. Take out the post that wasn't working. Start over. Check everything for level again. Adjust. Now these two, I put it in March, for a video tutorial, and since I'm moving the pathway over, they need to be moved. But these suckers are down about 2 feet and really hard to get out. So I start by digging a little well and filling it and the conduit with water and let it sit for a while to soften up. They still weren't budging. So I dug down a little bit more and repeated the process. Good gracious. Alright, can I do this without falling flat on my face and getting covered in mud? Woohoo! Finally getting to try the first arch, and the coupler won't fit, so that means filing. Huh. And more filing. Ta-da! A little hot. Working some more on the path, trying to get those piles of dirt I had just dug up out of the way. I'm ready for dinner. It's dinner time! The next evening we're back at it, trying to get these arches up. Check to make sure they're roughly the same on both sides of the garden. Measure again, find out something's wrong, adjust that one. Stand back to see if it looks okay. Adjust as needed. Check again, and it looks good. Measure the next set, drive it in, try out the arches, bending these arches again, they just weren't tight enough. I had used these for a low hoop house or a low tunnel, so I needed to bring them in a bit. Measure, measure, measure. Move the weeds, double check about 8 times, drive in the legs, my shoulders were pretty sore after this. It's a good workout. Try to get one side in, other side pops out again. Stand back, adjust, and it's good enough to move on. So we start cleaning up. This pathway was covered with all the weeds I've been pulling out of everything. I don't have a good compost spot yet, so I just put it on top of where the rotten stump is that I need to work on. Just got it out of the way. Much easier to see in the daylight that they're all set up. They're not perfect, but they're good enough to move on with. Okay, we're gonna start by harvesting all of the carrot seed, which means I'm gonna come through this whole patch and get all of the flowers. These ones are better because they're riper or they're more mature, but we're just gonna get them all and fill up our basket. I thought it would be easier to harvest the entire stem, but that was really tricky because they would get tangled on everything and filled up the basket way too quickly. So I started just cutting off just the seed heads. The brown one is almost fully ripe. You can see it's thick, fat seeds. I started cutting off just the seed heads
Much faster, much easier, much more efficient. Now I still did pull some of the flowers to use in an arrangement inside, so they didn't go to waste. Then it was time to weed. I'm racing the seasons here because I need to get in my fall garden before the end of July, and this space is really important. This is where I'm hoping to grow a better round of corn this time. I really want to have it weeded before I put the panels or the fencing on the arches, which makes access much harder.
Okay, not bad when I wasn't actually planning on harvesting any. And look how many seed heads. So we should have plenty of seeds for carrots this whole year. One more thing I'm self-sufficient in. All right, guys, thank you for watching all the way to the end. I will see you guys next time.